was feeling some type of way. I thought I was back in high school for a second. The Woo raised me. DMX was all types of posters on my wall. Nas, Jay-Z. Oh yeah, I was that girl. My daddy would tell you I had no wall space. My wall was covered in wallpaper of the artists that I loved and listened to on a regular basis. And anybody over the age of 25 understands about bebop and all, just five and putting all those posters on the wall. All these young kids don't know nothing about that. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. I feel so old right now. As far as traffic is concerned, so far so good. We have our wife down to 20 miles an hour, which is unusual for this time. Boylston Street, Chauncey Street, Adams Street, 16 West is down to 25 miles an hour. If you're coming from the east of 16, they're down to 14 miles an hour. There is a small little pocket on MA9 East, Longwood Avenue down to 10 miles an hour. If you're at that Braintree-Quincy split, they're at 33 miles an hour from the Braintree and the Quincy split. And then once you get on that 93 North, you're good to go at 55 miles an hour. As far as news is concerned, do you remember yesterday when I made mention to the fact that the rest of the world is protesting? Everybody's protesting. Everyone except for the United States of America, because there's other Americas. South America is protesting hard. Well, one of the things that was not, as far as media is concerned, covered at all was the chanting from our elders. Yes, yes, yes. 85 protesters, many of them elderly, arrested on the second day of Democracy Spring sit-in. And when I tell you, there's no young people here at all. So they were chanting, democracy is not for sale. We're not too old to go to jail. And money out, votes in. Hundreds of elderly protesters took up the mantle of Democracy Spring sit-in yesterday afternoon. About 85 people were arrested outside the Capitol, according to the U.S. Capitol Police, following a 10-day walk from Philadelphia. A coalition of progressive groups have pledged to take part in demonstrations this entire week. Monday, the first in its series of protests, more than 400 people were arrested and charged with crowding, obstruction, or I thought we had the right to protest. No? What's that not in that thing? What's that thing called? The Constitution? I thought we had the right to protest. What do you mean crowding and obstruction? You'll find any way to stop the voice of the people. Police had to bring in buses to process the arrest of off-site. The groups are demanding immediate action to end the influence of money in politics and to ensure free and fair elections in which every American has an equal voice. Y'all crazy. These old folks are crazy. Y'all think you really gonna get justice or else? We already tried that. Don't work. I'm so being facetious. Where's the young people at? We have the elders out here. We're not too old to go to jail. Where my young people at? Are you guys awake? Are you guys even listening to what's going on in the rest of the world? We have this comfort that when we wake up, we are wrapped in this cocoon of love. Shout out to Coleman G. Howard. We wake up and feel as if we are untouchable. We are not the ones that are hungry. We are not the ones that are cold. We are not the ones that are shirtless. So what should I care? I don't know what's going on with humanity, but I feel like we are so lost. And if we don't find ourselves, it's going to be the end of us, baby. We're going to wonder what happened. What happened? When did this happen? It's going to be a slither in history. They're going to wonder, where were the people at during the time where the government made these decisions? Because the history is being written with or without us. So are you going to be a part of that history, or are you just going to fall asleep at the wheel? A Michigan family is demanding answers at the parking lot of the dentist's office shortly after having her teeth pulled. I just couldn't understand how she walked out happy and fine and died all of a sudden, Amber Walden, the woman's daughter, told reports. April Walters suffered from scoliosis, asthma, COPD, high blood pressure, and diabetes, and had to be hooked up to oxygen. Despite her poor health, however, the 46-year-old was cleared by her doctor to have her teeth pulled because of an infection. So her sister, Crystal, took her to see Dr. Rana Rabin, a Southfield Dental Care, on Friday morning. The medical assistant who took Walter's vitals appeared concerned about her heart rate, but the dentist went through with the procedure anyways. Her heart rate was still 130 when the dentist came in, ready to do the procedure, Waddle said. The dental assistant said, "I'm waiting for her heart rate to come down," the dentist said. "We're fine," and the procedure starts. What's that called? You about to be sued today. Lord have mercy. That's not funny because that's somebody's mother who is now passed away because the dental assistant wasn't paid attention to. She clearly was doing her job and the dentist wasn't doing hers. And now we have somebody that is no longer here with us. In science news, I love science, love animals if you can't tell. There is this bizarre humanoid Godzilla size of a grown man. It's filmed hunting off the coast of the Galapagos Island. It is a massive lizard and it is the size of a human. I think that is so cool. I don't know because they're old and they're prehistoric and they outdate any other creature on earth, and the fact that he's the size of a man, whoo, could you imagine coming in contact with one of those? Probably not, unless you're at the Galapagos Islands. Really quickly, in other news, a 6-year-old girl in Japan falls to her death from the 43rd floor of a skyscraper after watching cartoon characters who could fly. The youngster climbed out of her bedroom window onto the balcony. Police confirmed that they watched an anime DVD featuring a flying family. One family member saw the girl standing on the balcony before falling. Police described the 6-year-old girl's tragic death as not suspicious. I really hope that they don't try and alter cartoons, because back when I was watching cartoons, people were blowing each other up with TNT, literally. What's his name? Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudge were trying to kill each other every day. Roadrunner and Beep Beep were trying. No, Coyote and the Roadrunner were at it all the time. I was gonna say Ben and Jerry. Tom and Jerry were at it all the time. Like, it was real. The violence was real, and now it's just. They took everything out of cartoons. They took the education out of cartoons. They took the fun out of cartoons, and they put sex into cartoons. That's the way I feel. Not a fact, my opinion. There is creepy footage. I posted it on the Wake Up with Tayla Andre page of a man who walked through doors, literally. So it's a man. He's in a hood. He has his hand in the pocket. He's walking towards a front door. All of a sudden, the camera has a static tinge to it. And then he just walks. The doors don't move. Doors don't open. Nothing moves. He just walks straight through it. It is probably the most scariest thing you will ever see. And most people are saying that it's fake. It looks kind of real to me. It's a closed caption TV of a store. You know, the cameras outside of a store. I hope you guys take a look at it, because I believe in ghosts. I don't know about you, but I believe in them. And apparently so do Stephen Hawkins, Mark Zuckerberg, and a few other individuals with a whole lot of money, because they are launching $100 million alien hunting mission with Russian billionaire to send fleet of nanocraft to Alpha Centauri at 20% of the speed of light. Alpha Centauri is a star system around 25 trillion miles from Earth. The project, dubbed Breakthrough Starshot, will rely on tiny nanocrafts. Tiny nanocrafts will fly on the sails pushed by beams of light. The craft will carry cameras and a built-in GPS. The mission could reach Alpha Centauri in about 20 years after its launch. Mark Zuckerberg, Russian billionaire Yuri Milner, as well as Stephen Hawkins, are hoping to find aliens in this $100 million project. I'm interested. It piqued my interest. How would you really look with a tattoo? There is now an app for that. This app lets you draw a design on your skin to see if that really suits you before committing for life to getting inked. I think this is an awesome idea. Should have came out when some people got tattoos of their ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, ex-lovers. It's no longer, it wasn't created then. It is created now. You can reshape, move the tattoo. You can design it just right, resize it. I think it's kind of cool out of the box. And I hope more people use it than just getting tattoos. Please, it's not, it's not okay. Please don't ever get a person on you. I love Anari and Asaria, but their names will not be tatted on me ever. Ever. One of the things, lastly, because I want to get into Power Hour and I want to get our guests situated, they're talking about global warming and the sea level rising and what it could look like in 20 years from now, 100 years from now. I want to remind people that are like, oh, global warming is not real. The sea levels are not rising. Those scientists are crazy. Do we or do we not have civilizations currently underwater? May I remind you that Atlantis is a real place? May I remind you that there are pyramids off the coast of East Asia that are underwater? Why do we as humans believe that we have control over everything, that we know everything, and that nothing possibly could happen to us? We know for a fact that inches upon inches are taking over the coast of California, New England, and Florida. Why are we so naive? I don't have all the answers, Sway, but I do have a little common sense. And I don't care if it's global warming or just the cycle of the earth. We do have to acknowledge the fact that we don't have all the answers. Global warming might be real. And the fact that our coastal cities could be underwater in 100 years is a real possibility. Why are we so arrogant and so naive to the truth? Lord have mercy. I'm just going to leave that right there. I'm going to get our guests situated. If you haven't noticed already, this UG and Mr. Easy Dance for Me, Shucky Shucky Dundab. If you haven't noticed, that's probably one of my favorite songs right now. I'm going to go ahead and play that for you, and then we will be right back. We got a Republican in the building, y'all. A Republican. We are not biased. We tell both sides of the story. Fair and balanced. Waking up with Tayla Andre, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7, Big City. Shucky, shucky. Mm-hmm. Done. Hey, Shucky. Good rising, Big City 101.3 FM. Waking up with Tayla Andre Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7. Before we get started into Power Hour, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to Coleman G. Howard, Little Black Girl's Dream too. Remember I was talking about the Care Bears? What you wear on your body is a reflection of how you feel, what you think. Shout out to Steven. Everything we eat, drink, and feel is I killed it. I killed it. Reggie B's gonna call in like, Tayla, that is not what it's supposed to say. But Care Bears really, you are supposed to give off the energy that you wish to get back. And if you wish to give off energy of love, that's exactly what you're gonna get back. Hate, anger, cockiness, anything. Whatever you give, it's going to come right back to you. So anytime you feel, oh my gosh, she was giving me attitude, maybe you were giving her attitude first. Just think about it. But shout out to Coleman G. Howard because he is creating these shirts that give a Care Bear effect of giving out love so you can then receive love. And I want to give a huge shout out to Faith's Natural Hair Beauty Products. Today's product is Drenched in Silk Hair Milk. I use it. I love it. It keeps Anari says it keeps his curls on fleek. Yeah, I love that kid. Asaria uses it when she does her little curl formers. I use it all the time, and it gives me the ability to keep my curls on lock, or like Anari said, on fleek, without having to wet my hair every day. And if you have curly hair, you know the struggle is real. Shout out to Faith's Natural Beauty Products. Her products are absolutely amazing. Do not forget my favorite flagship product of hers, and that is the rose-infused oil that smells like heaven. Now it is time for Power Hour, Big City 101.3 FM. We have, for the second time, the vice chair of the Massachusetts Young Republicans, political analyst on the New England Cable News, and former candidate for U.S. Congress, Jeff Simone. Good rising. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Tayla?
Super fantastic.
So what's going on?
Everything. A lot has happened since the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
And last time you came in, we got a bit of an overstanding on, the Republicans versus Democrats versus everybody else. And I think it's time that we revisit that conversation because a lot has taken place in the city as far as GE is concerned, as far as our politicians trying to.
We got charter schools.
Yes.
We got, what else we got? Well, we got BRA, which is not necessarily a Republican Democrat thing. It's more of a city thing.
That's more of a line my pockets thing.
Well, yeah. So people are going to make a lot of money. Yep.
It's not going to be you or me. And unless you make a lot of money, you can't live in this city.
It's getting harder. Yeah, that's for sure. Rents are going up, right? Property values are going up.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's a bad thing or a good thing?
I think
or neither, or somewhere in between.
You know what? I think if we were fair and balanced, it could be a good thing. But I think the fact that the BRA has eminent domain, I can steal your house whenever I want to and say I gave you fair money for it.
It's amazing how many people want more power in the hands of government when you have things like eminent domain.
Thank you.
Vote Republican. Less government. Small government. Limited government. That's a Republican value. Right
That's
there.
a Republican value.
Absolutely.
What are other Republican values? Because Republicans don't grace our space too often.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here. So I would say limited government is one, fiscal responsibility is the other. I want everybody out there to pay attention to how many Democrats are calling for more higher taxes, which they love to say more revenue. More revenue. Schools need more revenue. Meanwhile, the I don't know if you've been following this, Taylor, the nice benefit package, all the union membership, and the schools are getting.
Absolutely.
All these nice perks that
the RISE Act. You talk about the RISE Act.
Well, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bill that actually hasn't been passed, but all kinds of goodies that the Democratic establishment up on Beacon Hill is looking for, but usually they're looking for more money from you and me to help pay for it. So I'd say first pillar of value for Republican Party is limited government. Means the government stays out of your hair for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And second one would be fiscal responsibility. The third one would be strong national defense.
Strong national defense.
Well, we can talk about the first two if you, or whatever you want.
Well, we'll leave strong national defense alone.
We'll do that for next time.
Oh,
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
we
a whole 2 hours by itself. Fiscal responsibility. We have a caller on the line, and I have a feeling this is exactly who I thought it was. Brace yourself. You may be.
Just be gentle.
No, he's not ever. He's never gentle. You guys already know who it is. Good rising, Mr. Nubian.
Speaking about the Republican Party, it's the
He is so pro-black.
They talk about they want to be, conservative with the money, but yet they can spend trillions of dollars on wars to bomb people of color. Here's another thing I don't get. They're they're against abortion, but as soon as you're born, they're like, screw it, let them die. So if you don't mind people dying once they're born, what do you care if they die before they give birth to them? Like they're a walking contradiction. And they're so for gun rights until black people want guns, then all of a sudden Reagan and the rest of his punks in California want to get rid of that. So, the Republican Party is just short of the KKK.
Wow. Okay. I have to disagree with you there, but all right, let's work our way backwards. You have an undeniable constitutional God-given right to defend yourself, to buy a firearm, and there's only one party in this country that's trying to take that away, and that's the Democratic Party. If you meet a Republican that wants to take away a law-abiding citizen's right to own a firearm, they're the exception, not the rule. I can tell you right now. I think the Second Amendment is critical to defending our freedoms and defending ourselves. So I don't know what Republicans. I wouldn't know probably a single Republican that would say they're in favor of taking away people's Second Amendment rights. If they are, at the very least, they want more rules around it per state. But that's pretty well ingrained in the party. So, I mean, I don't know many Republicans that want to take away people's Second Amendment rights. Let's say that. What was the one before that?
Mr. Nubian.
Abortion?
Abortion.
Well, I can say I'm pro-life. I mean, life either is or isn't. I mean, we've all, in this day and age, if you want to talk about science and stuff like that, everybody who has a kid or even family members who have kids, you see that ultrasound. I mean, you tell me, Tayla, what do you think? It's a life or it's not a life? I mean, do you have children? I think you have children.
Yeah, I have two of them.
I have a child. When you see that ultrasound, your mind is like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is that a human being or is that not? Now, I'm not going to get into an abortion conversation here and there because that's just people feel very strongly in one way or the other. But I believe that is. I also believe that, like I said, in less limited government. So if you go by the Constitution, it's a issue decided by the states, right? Okay. So I guess what it was defending the unborn, but letting people die after.
Mm-hmm.
If he's still on the air, I'd like to know what he means by that. I don't know. I mean, are you talking about like crime or that's a bit confusing to me.
If I know Mr. Nubian any type of way, he means as far as like us bombing other countries, us.
Well, I mean, that's
that's
you could talk to 100 Republicans. They'll have 100 different opinions on what war and when to bomb and bombing people of color. I mean, look, if you want to break everything down by race, I mean, some folks really a lot of times just that is the lens they view the world. Skin color, sex, sexual orientation, whatever. Everybody's in a category.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in a category. So I don't know. I'm not going to necessarily argue over killing people over skin color or stuff like that. I mean, we're gonna have to get real specific and talk about it a whole thing. And that's a major thing to say about, just throw that out there and just kind of
Republicans. So one question that I do have, and hopefully you can help myself and listeners understand what exactly is going on in Syria, in the Middle East. What exactly is taking place that we are destroying people? Like, what's going on over there that isn't being told?
That isn't being told. Well,
Yeah.
I know what is being told. Look, you have the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, which sprung out of the Wahhabism that came out of Saudi Arabia. I believe it's Sunni Muslims that are taking over that area. There was a power vacuum. Now there's a very legitimate case that when we as a country went into Iraq and took out Saddam Hussein, and the war over, from 2004 until I guess now essentially. And when we left, we pulled out. It was relatively, compared to a few years before, peaceful. In terms, there were less bombings, less killing, forming a government. It was a corrupt government, and we turned it over, I want to say, to Nouri al-Maliki. Now, I think, was Maliki a Sunni or a Shia? And regardless, there's two major sects in Muslim faith in Iraq, Sunni and Shia. The Sunnis are aligned with Saudi Arabia. The Shia are aligned more with Iran. Nouri al-Maliki, I believe he was a Shia, and he wanted kind of retribution on the Sunni side. So as soon as that he took over, he kind of created this very hostile environment where people were within the country fighting with sectarian violence within the Muslim faith. So out of that, ISIS, which that's the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria.
Some people believe that's America's doing. Like ISIS is really United States.
No. I'll just tell you no. I'll tell you, they're horrible people. I mean, I remember when they were coming out a few years ago, and I was just watching these like random internet videos, and this is before people knew what ISIS was, and it was just, they were videotaping themselves driving down a road somewhere in Iraq or Syria, and they're taking out an AK-47, pull up alongside somebody just randomly, and just blow them away. It was sickening. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and there's no faking. There's no faking that. They saw that some people, and they just started killing them. Now they are hardcore. They are bad people who are doing really, really bad things. Now they have grown in power. They've grown in power for the past year plus 2 years. They've taken over Syria and Bashar al-Assad, who was the former president of Syria. Now, this is one thing where you get into Republicans going after Obama on this, that like Bashar al-Assad was accused of using chemical weapons in Syria on his own people. A lot of it was to defeat ISIS, but some were actually different rebels that wanted to get him out of power. But Obama says, all right, this won't stand. If he uses chemical weapons, we'll kick him out of power. And so then we start to get involved with our military, mostly by air power, not heavy, but we start to take out. Do I have the timeline right? Anyway, Obama made that declaration. We find out he's using chemical weapons, but nothing really happens. But then ISIS grows in strength and starts to take over larger parts of Syria, and it's kind of where it's been today. We're hitting. If we find out where a group of ISIS fighters are, we'll send in some planes and take them out. But no troops on the ground right now, and we have special forces kind of operating and picking targets and things like that. But that's kind of where we've been for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's ugly. They are bad people. What to do about them, that's debatable. That's you can get, again, ask 100 people, you get 100 different opinions.
Mm. So I have one question as far as Republicans are concerned. Why do you guys fail to mention that he is President Barack Obama? Even here, you just said Obama 4 times, but without saying President Barack Obama.
It's shorter. I mean, he is the president. He's President Barack Obama. If I say that every time in a conversation, it just sounds weird, but no, he's the president. I respect the office. I don't disagree with it. I don't agree with his policies, but I respect the office. I respect the man.
Okay.
I don't agree with him a lot, but if we continue this conversation, I'm still not going to say President Barack Obama every time I mention him. I'm just going to say, but I would say Clinton. I would say Bush. I would say, should I say the T word if we're talking about him, Trump? But no, I don't like it.
You know what? That is the.
I'll say, I'm not going to say, like, there's this weird thing people are saying, like, Mr. Trump. It's like, it's creepy, but, I'll just say Trump. I'm just going to say the last name, or Sanders.
I want to ask you about that, but we have some callers on the line. If you have any questions, we got a Republican in the building, y'all. Jeff, Simone, give us a call, 617-282-0062. If you feel uncomfortable in calling and you don't want to call, you want to sit here and send us a text message, a voicemail, a Facebook, TAYLA, Good Rising, Caller, you live. I'm super fantastic. How are you?
Good. Hey, I just wanted to ask a quick question to your guest, right? He just said basically one of the 3 points he's voting is basically a bigger budget on national defense, but it seems like most of it is not to defend the United States homeland. Most of it is to defend United States interests overseas, especially when it comes to the Middle East. Because if I remember correctly, the United States was the one that put Saddam in power, and then they booted him out, and now you left a bigger mess over there with ISIS and all of them fighting for power. So it seems like instead of focusing more on that national budget, that defense budget to be protecting the homeland, it seems like it's to basically go and, put a government that will do what the United States wants in power instead of actually trying to make peace. You know what I'm saying? I don't really think it's to make peace. I think it's to actually go in there and, do what the United States wants to be done, whatever the interest is. I mean, I can understand spending on protecting the homeland. That's understandable. But once you start to get away from it, they could argue that it's to, defend the homeland because that way they don't come over here. But I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, what does he think about that right there?
Thank you, Carla. Love and appreciate you. Hope you have an awesome day. That's a great question, and a lot of people feel as if it's valid.
A lot of what he said is right. I mean, if I were to, short answer, yes, mostly yes. I mean, I said, strong national defense. That doesn't necessarily mean more money all the time. I mean, you can spend your money smartly.
But let's be honest, we spend billions and billions of dollars on a regular basis, quote unquote, defending what's ours or defending our interest overseas.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, like Tupac said, we got money for wars but can't feed the poor. The amount of money that we spent on this last war, we could have eradicated hunger. We could have eradicated veterans not having housing.
We have an obesity problem. I don't know about hunger, but I'll say, first of all, if you're looking around you, I'm in favor of strong national defense, but I don't like wasteful spending. We have 2 oceans protecting us, so it's hard. It's literally hard for people to get over here, but people can get over here, and it can happen. We live in a unique time in human history. We are an anomaly, if you think about it. For thousands and thousands of years, if you go back to ancient Egypt, other countries have been invading other countries and taking them over, and it goes back and forth. Tribes, Asia, Africa, Europe, doesn't matter. We have been relatively untouched, and a lot of that is due to the fact that we have 2 oceans on either side of us, but a lot of it is due because we have a large army and we're a wealthy country and we can afford to do that. The idea that, a lot of times you get into these either or situations. Like, I know plenty of Democrats on the other side. It's like, if you're not spending on social welfare programs or schools, it's a waste of money. Like, it's they only see the world in that one way. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not going for what I think it should go for, it's a waste of money. And you can say, well, of course you can put more money towards this program or that program, and I'd love to get into that conversation about how effective those programs are. But we know a relatively peaceful world. Okay, bombs are not dropping on our heads every 10 years like they are in other parts of the world. We have that luxury, and I think it takes a lot of. I think you have to recognize that in some respects and say to yourself, okay, you know what, we're in a unique situation where we haven't had these horrific wars over and over and over again, these destabilized governments over and over and over again. And a lot of that is due to our strong national defense. And people, if another country wanted to do damage to us, they would pay a very steep price. And I think that's why I'm not going to pretend I'm naive enough that we live in a world where if the United States was just nicer to everybody else and everything would be okay. There are bad people out there who don't care about, what you think or what I think, and just want to either take what we have or see us dead. Now I may be overstating things, but I don't think I am. But that's the agreement we have. So that's why we have elections. So people with my point of view run for office, and they make their case to the American people and say, you know what, maybe they recognize that, or somebody say, no, you know what, cut the defense budget by 95%. We don't need it. It's all our fault, and that's it. Now, the other thing the caller said was about defending our interests. Yeah, I'll agree with him on that. Like, there's a lot of meddling in foreign affairs, and people defend that by saying, well, you know what, this government's better for us than that government. And we were doing that for like 30, 40, 50 years with the Shah in Iran, the former leader of Egypt, who was a dictator, but he was not nice to his, to the citizens of Egypt. But nonetheless, if you look back from a few years ago, he's way better than ISIS or the Muslim Brotherhood, who they just actually kicked out, and they have a more democratic process. So Egypt is actually a very interesting study that's evolving every day. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's that's a debate within our own party of how much involvement we should have in the world and meddling in foreign affairs and propping up governments, not propping up, taking down governments, things like that. And it gets messy.
Mm-hmm. So I do have more questions, but we have callers on the line, 617-282-0062. We have a political analyst and Republican, or should I say Republican political analyst?
Yeah, that's the better way to put it, sure. I'm biased, happily.
That's okay.
Friendly bias.
That's okay. We're biased too. It's not one-sided, but I'm glad that we can collectively have a conversation and agree to disagree, or it doesn't matter. You can agree, you can disagree. 617-282-0062. Just let your opinion be heard. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Good rising,
Hi, Harrison. Shut off your radio for me.
I did. Look, I understand that we always help people out, other countries, when the government is mistreating people, when they have stuff going on. But what about us? Should we ask Russia or China to give the American people some help, or should we deploy our own military to help the citizens in this country? I'm just confused.
Thank you, Harrison. Love and appreciate you. I hope you have an awesome day today, Jeff.
Should we ask Russia or China for help?
I believe that's right.
Here in America, or where? I missed that last part. If he's talking about, do we need their help here taking care of our own business? No, never. You don't want Russia or China. They have horrible forms of government. Look, it's not perfect here in the United States, but it is the best form of government that's been worked out in, I think, in my opinion, the course of human history. You know, Russia and China are dictatorships. People have no rights. And I'm not talking about rights that we debate in, the Boston Globe. I'm talking about real, actual rights to, disagree with the government openly, and to live where you just literally live. Okay, Russia, China don't see it that way, so they have no business in our country. From that, we can take care of ourselves. We can work it out. We'll figure it out. Other places in the world, that's goes back to the previous caller. I think that it gets messy. Russia, they're involved in they're involved all over the world. They're involved in the Middle East. China's involved all over the world. They're doing lots of stuff. So, you got to get more specific on that, on what we should actually do.
Harrison, give us a call back so I can get a better understanding of what you were trying to say. We have another call on the line, 617-282-0062. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Good morning. I just wanted to, I was listening to this conversation here, and I was very intrigued at the fact that this gentleman that's on the phone hadn't actually answered anything concrete. Nothing. I've listened to you, man. You haven't listened to anything concrete, not just because I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican, but
well, give me some concrete. Give me a specific.
We're not.
George Bush Sr. to George Bush Jr. took the rest of the way. Am I correct?
So can you repeat that last part? I didn't pick up that last part.
Okay, I said the war started from a Republican Party with George Bush Sr. to George Bush Jr. Am I correct?
Second Bush, yeah, you're correct.
So now the war is continues. People over in those countries are tired of the United States coming in, making their own orders or whatever. Something that we probably need to stay out of, but that's been the United's way for long before we were even thought of. But what I wanted to say to you is that when you're answering the question, it has to be answered concrete. If you don't understand it or you don't want to answer it correctly, then you shouldn't answer it.
What did I answer that's not concrete?
Oh, I think you didn't answer this gentleman that just called. Answer concrete.
To what question?
What question?
I'll answer as concrete as I can. I mean, if I'm asked a question, look, for the first thing you said, that George Bush owns the Iraq War. There's no question about it. I don't think anybody would disagree with you. But I'll answer a concrete question. If ask a question, I answer it as thoroughly as I possibly can.
Okay, you're absolutely correct. That's a Republican way. Give me a good answer as best as you can, as quick as you can. But hear this out.
Well, what's the question?
What I wanted to say was that if you're looking at what's going on in the country today, we need to look at where we are. And then for you not to say President Obama and just, I don't want to say it takes too long. Dude, that's the President of the United States, but a lot of people don't respect that because he's not of the same ethnic background as you or maybe your co-peers. This is why he's not respected, because he's not of ethnic background, because everybody's looking for your traditional Caucasian president. But the brother made sense, but none of his bills got passed. So I'm just saying, consider what's going on today, and then consider our role as a people in it, and then think about it.
Thank you.
Give an answer.
Thank you, baby. Love and appreciate you. Jeff, you want to rebuttal?
Well, sure. First thing, I'll try to answer any question as thoroughly as I can. But I'd say, give me a specific question. I'll try to give a specific answer. As far as disrespecting Obama, was that the general theme of it, or that the Republicans won't pass his bill, or that they don't like him because of his ethnic background? There are people out there that don't like President Obama because of his ethnic background, but that's not where I disagree with him. I disagree with him on his policies, and I think when you have elections, where you need legislation to be passed, and the opposing party, then the president gets into office, their job is to either agree or disagree with the president in charge at that time. So I would say that, you know, I don't agree that most Republicans disagree with President Obama on his because of his ethnic background. I'd say it's his policies. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there.
Like,
okay, I mean, there's plenty. There's plenty.
Give me three.
Three, his health care plan.
Okay. Which is the same as the Romney Care that we have here in Massachusetts.
Right, now it's federal. It means you have no choice. Okay, and I don't know about you, but this year is the first year it kicked in where
you got penalized if you didn't have health insurance.
I was penalized under Romney. I was out of work back a while, you know, when that first took place, and but now it's like with the healthcare plan that my family had, we never had a deductible before. This year we have a huge deductible, which means we got to pay a lot more out of pocket prior to receiving any coverage. So healthcare, and that kicked in 2016. That was part of the healthcare law that President Obama signed into law. So healthcare is one of them. He promised everybody's costs are going to go down $2,500. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. That was not correct, and that didn't actually happen. It wasn't true. People got kicked off their plans. People, you know, lost their coverage in a lot of cases, millions of cases. So that's a policy difference. I mean, people can say, well, I like his policy better. That's your opinion. I don't. So I'm gonna disagree with it.
Before you jump to the second point, one of the things I didn't understand when it came to the healthcare was there was option. Prior to what we have for law now, there was the conversation of having an option. So if you wanted the plan that we currently have, you can jump on board with that, or you can have the option where you pay otherwise. Why didn't that? I don't think it was ever
public option.
Was it the public option?
Well, public option was a government-run plan, and that got squashed. That was not even a lot of Democrats were in favor of it. You got to remember when this was passed, it was 2009, and the Democratic Party controlled the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So they could have done whatever they wanted to for 2 years. So they did whatever they wanted to. There was no Republican consultation being brought in. They just wrote the whole thing and passed it. And that's what it was. And a lot of folks, further to the left, I would say, more probably along the lines of Bernie Sanders supporters, wanted a public option, a government-run plan. So you have like Blue Cross Blue Shield, you have Harvard Pilgrim, and then you have the government plan as an option. But a lot of people were fearful that, well, a government plan would smash all over, and then all the other plans out there, because they're the government and they can control whatever they can control. And
would that not have been the better option for us to have that Blue Cross Blue Shields, that Harvard, and then that option? So you have a choice.
You have a choice.
Now we don't have a choice.
Well, you have a choice between. No, you don't have a choice, because now regardless of who you are in this country, you are forced to buy health insurance. You were forced to buy it. It's part of the law, whether you want to or not. Now that's a big disagreement. Never in our country's history has there been a law that makes you or me buy a product or buy a service. Now we have this law that says that. Just by your very existence, if you're breathing in America and you live here, you have to buy health insurance. A lot of people think that's okay, and that's just the way it is. I don't think the government should be saying, you know what, you have to do this. If you're 23, 27 years old and you just don't want to do it, or you're a person who just lives off the grid or something like that. Say you're out there just living in the woods or whatever the case may be, or you just don't want to, and you're like, you know what, if I get sick, I'll just pay a doctor. I don't want to pay health insurance. You can't do that now. You literally can't do that, or you pay a fine. You pay a tax, a fine. I don't think that that's right. I don't think that the government has the right to tell you that that's part of it. So you can disagree with me. I mean, you can say the government does. That's fine. That's why we have elections, and that's what took place. So that would be a big disagreement where I have with the president on healthcare policy.
Before we hit those other 2 points, let's take some of these calls. I thank everybody who's currently on hold for your patience. Good rise and call you live. It's you.
Beautiful. Okay, so my quick question is, I heard Mr. Republican, what's his name?
Jeff. I'm Jeff. Good to meet you. Hello.
Hey, good to meet you too. And I see everybody coming at you because you're Republican. They got their feelings towards Republicans. But I want to ask you a good question. I just heard you mention something about China, and my question is basically, I heard about Obama and Biden meeting up with China, or something about China giving back $2 trillion of money. I don't know if you heard about that situation.
I do not. I'm sorry.
You said Obama. You didn't say President Obama.
Yeah, you didn't say President Obama. Tayla's going to get on you. See? Look, it's just, I mean, come on. Just to go back on that for a second. We go, when we talk about this stuff in the news all over the place, they say Clinton. They say Trump. They say Sanders.
Why don't say Trump? Trump is not going to be president.
No, he's not. He's definitely not. And I do not like Donald Trump. I am not a fan of his. But come on, you can't. When we get into this stuff, I mean, if you're just in this conversation, and I say, instead of saying President Obama, I say Obama, and it's like, oh, he didn't say president from it. He's disrespecting the man. Like, no. There's plenty of really good examples that anybody can pull out there of people disrespecting President Obama for lots of different reasons, and probably a lot of them go to Trump rallies. But come on, man. Let's just take a breath here and just say, okay, you know what? For the remainder of this conversation, I'll say President Obama, or as best I can, if I can remember. But there's levels of disrespect, and that's not a disrespectful thing. People call the president, and I referred to Bush as Bush. When we were talking about the other topic a second ago. So Tayla, take it easy on your call.
Go ahead. What's the question, darling?
My question is about there's a meeting the other day with the Federal Reserve. They had a meeting with the Federal Reserve, and I'm just wondering what's his take on basically if he knows about basically something about China, because you mentioned China, and we don't need no help from China or Russia, so we wouldn't. But I'm hearing that China, there's a situation right now with the Federal Reserve, Biden and Obama, and they had a meeting the other day about over $2 trillion that China's sending back to us. Over basically they're about to change their currency into the yen, and they're not going to mess with the American dollar no more. So they're sending over $2 trillion back to America. And I just heard them say something about China. So I'm like, to me, that it shows me what's going on, what's about to happen. It's going to cause a major inflation.
Yeah. Well, I have to read up on that recently, but I kind of know what you're talking about. Okay, so China owns a lot of our debt. Okay, we are so bad in debt. And that's a thing that we were talking about 2, 3, 4 years ago, but we're not talking about now, and we need to.
How many trillion are we in debt now?
We're just about to approach $20 trillion with
Lord have mercy.
And China owns a significant percentage of that. I think.
So we owe China money.
Yeah.
So how is China giving us $2 trillion?
Well, I imagine. I got to read up on this because if it just happened within the past day or so, I don't think I'm aware of it. But I will definitely research that because I know a lot about the Federal Reserve and what the Federal Reserve is doing now. Which, if you want to talk about income inequality, the Federal Reserve is the primary driver of that because they make our money worth less by printing more of it, not digitally printing it. And then lending it out, the government borrows money in the form of U.S. Treasuries, and then the Federal Reserve buys those U.S. Treasuries with essentially printed money, and it's and it basically causes inflation. The caller is exactly right, because if what happens is if China is saying, and if the caller is correct in that China is saying that they're going to basically pay off the money, or actually, no, or stop borrowing, I would say that inflation is probably in the near future. I have to read the article. You know, can you see on your Facebook or Twitter?
Can you he's gone right now, right?
But if he's listening, go on Taylor's Facebook and like print the article, or not print the article, paste the article. Post the article you're talking about, because I'd actually like to read that. Yeah, it's something that we were talking about a few years ago that we need to start talking about again. Federal Reserve policy is, if you're working class, middle class, trying to save money, the Federal Reserve is not your friend.
You know what? Can I ask you a question about the Federal Reserve and the fact that we as Americans are not supposed to pay taxes because the Federal Reserve isn't even a government entity? Like,
the Federal Reserve is technically not. It's pseudo government entity. They're in charge of the money, but they're not in charge of the taxes. They're in charge of monetary policy, which means the physical money that's in your wallet and the
that's
money
not backed by anything.
That's right. It used to be backed by gold. Nixon took us off the gold standard.
In silver too, because we used to have silver notes, right? Silver dollar notes.
You had that as currency, but not what it was backed by. Like, the reason why the $20 bill in anybody's wallet was worth something was because we had fortresses, Fort Knox, and other places in New York Federal Reserve full of gold, because if it's worth something because gold backed it up. When you take us off the gold standard, it's just it's not tied to the value of gold anymore. So,
and that's why Gaddafi is dead, because he wanted to bring us back to that gold standard.
Gaddafi. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Gaddafi. Like, he has like 7 different spellings for his name.
What? Wait. Whoa. Wait, hang on. Where are we going? Libya. Gaddafi. Took us up the gold standard.
Dino? He wanted to bring back. He wanted the Dino to be the currency of Africa. So.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You
took a left turn there. I didn't know where we were going.
When you were talking about the gold standard, Gaddafi wanted to bring us back to that gold standard. So if we were to buy anything from that region, we would have to back it by gold.
That might have been something that he wanted to do. I don't know anything about that, but I can tell you Gaddafi's dead because Hillary Clinton wanted him dead, and that's
wow.
Let me rephrase that. Wanted him out of power and didn't care. I mean, 2011.
Yeah.
Okay, this is all the stuff we're talking about right now. She had a Libya policy that was designed to remake the country exactly how how she saw it. She drove that Libya policy. It's serious stuff. Okay. And when they kicked Gaddafi out of power, they knew darn well what was going to happen to him, and it's what happened to him. They killed him. Now it's pretty much a destabilized region. Now this goes back to what we were talking about, earlier in the show. You had a dictator who was a pretty bad guy. Gaddafi was not a good guy. He was one of those guys. There's no rights in Libya. He ruled the country with an iron fist, right? So if he's doing that, is it to take him out of power and take him out? Is that something that the United States should be doing? A lot of people on both sides of the aisle would say no. And you didn't learn a lesson from Iraq and Saddam Hussein. Now you're going to take out Gaddafi and Libya, and now Islamic State has a presence there. It's a very destabilized. You had the Benghazi situation, which is they made a movie about it. I encourage people to go see that movie. It's important. 13 hours. Oh, I'm blocking the Periscope. But yeah, Hillary Clinton wanted Gaddafi gone, and he got gone. So I don't know about his view on gold and the gold standard, but yeah, if we go back to the Federal Reserve topic, they're printing money essentially, and the money in your wallet is worth less because of what they're doing, and it's bad policy. It's a primary driver of a lot of the problems that the working and poor and middle class are having right now.
Message. I hope somebody's listening. 617-282-0062. We have Republican political analyst Jeff Simone in the building. Please give us a call. 617-282-0062. You don't have to agree. You don't have to disagree, but you do have to call. 617-282-0062. Good Rising Caller Live.
Good morning. Good morning to you, the host, and also Jeff Simone that's on the radio. And I appreciate the balance. It's good to have. I think it's a great picture when you have a different side of the parties inside the radio, and that brings you the balance of the show. Having said that, thank you for the gentleman for coming in, Jeff, for accepting your invitation.
Thank you.
First, I think that probably one of the conversations the gentleman was referring to, I am not sure, like I was about to say, is I don't know if he's talking about the story that Barron Rothschild may have wrote, which is the one about giving control over a nation's currency. I don't know if he's talking about that policy where all the different nations have their own currency, money spinning, and China's at the top of all of that. I'm not sure if this is what he was referring to, but there is an article written by a certain gentleman, but his name is Barron and Rothschild, R-O-T-H-S Child, C-H-I-L-D, Rothschild or Rothschild, I don't know how you pronounce his last name.
Can you go on Tayla's Facebook and
I'll
post
Google it. I'll go back and listen to the show and Google it.
Because I want to read this article. I want to see what's going on, if there's been policy changes. I just might have missed it in the news, but I know Federal Reserve policy reasons as well. So
Wait, I don't even have a Facebook, but
okay.
I'll look it up.
But and this, what I was bringing to the table is two things. Is as you are on the show, and the gentleman that called again about not calling the President Obama, and also the host referring to the policies. I think one of the education that needs to be done in the urban cities, especially, is we don't believe in midterm election, and this is why we always get crushed in the middle of things. And I think that's one of the biggest issues we have, especially in the minority communities, is that we're not educated enough to understand what the definition of midterm election. And I remember when I was in school, I wrote an article on that, which I had a good grade for, because midterm elections is what controls the House and all of that we can, when we talk about the issues we have in the urban communities and the areas that we live in, these midterm elections is what's going to shape government and Congress so that we can go all the way to the top. But if we just talk about the president and we don't shape the midterm elections so we can elect the officials within our neighborhoods who actually in our neighborhoods who needs to know what goes on and that knows what goes on, then we always kind of fight between the gentleman here, Jeff, who's a Republican, or we can bring in any other Democrat face to face. You can battle all you want. So one other thing he said that I agree with is that it's not about Republican and Democrats. It's about policies. When you're voting, you're not voting the face of the individual in politics. You're supposed to read what the person has on the table. Like right now, I can tell you, this year is the first year that I'm thinking about, well, maybe I should change to become an independent voter, because it's going crazy when you look at the table. The Democratic Party right now, you got Bernie Sanders and you got Hillary, who I'm choosing perhaps not to go that route simply because of foreign policy affect me as a Haitian citizen. And we know the story about the Clintons with the Haiti, how it's going. So again, it's policies and policies and policies and policies. And like he said earlier, as far as healthcare is concerned, I'm pissed off that I'm forced to buy healthcare. But I get it. And some people need to have healthcare because they know I'm not going to get sick, I'll be okay. Then by the time they collapse, they cannot help themselves, or they wouldn't find a doctor who would look at them if they made it all or nothing. But having it to be reinforced by the government, to me, I don't think that's a policy I would have agreed in. So I'm closing in to say again, I appreciate the fact that you took my call, and thank you very much for accepting my call, and thank you for having the balance on the show, because we need that in this community, especially, and also the people that are calling need to take a little time back and educate your kids, educate your neighborhoods, educate your surroundings about midterm elections, because in order for you to fight against the parties, you first have to shape the smaller ground, and then you can get to the top of the ground where we want to shape government. So we can control government if we're not doing our part. Thank you again, and I'm still listening as we go on.
I love you. I
Good caller.
appreciate you. And
Good
I
caller.
hope you have an amazing day today. Absolutely great caller.
There's one thing we're a little bit lucky in Massachusetts is during midterm elections we elect the governor. So that's going to get people a little bit more involved. The governor, the state legislature, your state rep, your state senator have a lot more impact on your day-to-day life than the president does. Period. So, we when I came on, we started talking about it was like charter schools, the bill.
Oh,
So
God.
Sonia Chang Diaz.
Oh, my gosh. She's not my friend right now.
Well,
She
let me tell you
knows
something
this.
right now, like, because I can't, she's been going around being a cheerleader for this Senate bill about charter schools, which I'm a big, Republicans pretty much uniformly across the country are big fans of school choice. Meaning, if you're a parent with a kid in the school system, if you are forced to send your kid to the school down the street instead of a school 2 miles away that you want to send your kid to, too bad, so sad. Like, that's not the policy. So Republicans are trying to change that, and where a parent can have a lot more power in their decision to either send a kid to a different school or have the availability of charter schools in their neighborhood to open up. Now, the Senate bill, to give you guys some perspective, you don't know the details. This is their idea of compromise. The Democrats. Now, I don't want to knock them too bad because I know.
No, please knock it all the way down because we might be disagreeing on.
Over 10 years, over a 10-year time period, folks, do you know what they're going to raise the charter school cap? This is an amazing number. 0.5% a year. 5% over 10 years. That's 5% over 10 years, and they're talking that this is a compromise bill. Now,
I sat down with Sonia Chang Diaz and I told her, okay, let's talk about this. How about 1% for 5 years? How about we cut that down?
Oh, Tayla, stop it.
No.
That's
honestly,
outrageous. How dare you?
How dare
you?
And that was it was like, well, we can't do that.
Oh,
we can't do that.
Gasp.
Do you know it's
How dare you?
400 seats for all of Boston?
It's ridiculous. Let me tell you something. Most Republicans in the state legislature, and I can probably say with some certainty, the governor want to either remove the cap or drastically lift it. Okay, and look, most folks just want their kids to get a good education. They don't necessarily care that it's public or private, but this isn't about the kids. This is about the teachers' unions. Okay? This is about the MTA, the Massachusetts Teachers Association, because what happens if they get less money? That's why they had these sweet $100 million buyouts per year that go to the public teachers union. Now, if you're listening to this program, remember, this is a Republican saying this on your airwaves because I love Tayla and I got up at 4:30 to come here. But no, this is a real issue, and they're trying to go out and tell you that 0.5%
is a compromise.
The greatest thing in the world. Oh, look how great we are! And what they're trying to do is get something passed, so everybody forgets about it for a couple of years, and then when you talk about it in 3 or 6 months, you go, "No, we just passed this great bill," and they look what we did, and they can pat themselves on the back. And it's just a dodge because they don't want to They don't want to take on the teachers' unions. That's it. That's all it comes down to. Okay.
Thank you for speaking the truth because when it comes out of my mouth, nobody wants to believe me. I'm glad it came out of a Republican's mouth.
No,
it is about the teachers' union. It's not about the children. It's about adults. Mm-hmm. And we already have adults that 76% of the budget of our $1 billion budget goes into the pockets of adults. Now, I don't think I believe teachers should be paid and they should be paid well because they deal with a lot. But when 76% of the budget goes straight into the pockets of adults and less than 8% goes to supplies for our children, we have a problem.
And a lot of that is not even necessarily for salaries.
Pensions.
It's for pensions. Oh man, you get a nice pension. You get like I think 80% of your best salary years, which if you work for a long time, you get automatic. Imagine, are you hosting this radio program, do you get automatic raises every year?
Oh.
I don't get automatic raises. No, you get the more listeners you get, the more advertising dollars you get, whatever, how the business works. But come on, this is like they have one of the best retirement programs around, and it's funded by you and me. And we don't get that kind of retirement program. So don't be fooled, folks. This is not a compromise bill. A compromise bill will when you hear it, you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, we're going to remove the cap on charter schools. We're going to say, you know, all right, or at least maybe 10% a year or something like that. That's compromise if you're talking about it. But I would say get rid of the cap. Why do you even need a cap? They put the cap in there to protect the unions anyway. So now we're arguing over the cap when we shouldn't even be arguing over the cap. We should be like, just get rid of it. Let the charter schools do their thing. If, they should have, strict requirements. If they're not doing their job, then, there should be penalties for that. But, on the whole, and there's been tons of research on this, charter schools perform better in a lot of circumstances, most circumstances, for both K through 12, for special education, for, college prep, whatever the case is. But we have to ask ourselves why.
Why? Tell them that the teachers union. Good rising, call you live.
That's a way back call for that song. I love that song too.
Good rising, call you live.
Good rising, yes.
Good rising, how are you?
I'm exactly good. Turn this radio down. Yeah, so I appreciate the balance as well. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I'll stay on the road because you get two faces of the same coin. And my choices are policy based. But I wanted to touch on, what the gentleman was talking about regarding the healthcare. Car insurance is mandatory in most states. But in New Hampshire, where they say live free or die, they don't require their residents to purchase car insurance. It's a choice. I think health insurance should be the same thing. It's one thing to make it affordable. It's another thing to make it mandatory. So, our president, in my opinion, is not beyond reproach. An issue that you have about him having Gaddafi whacked is a big problem with me because there's a lot of negative rhetoric about the late Muammar Gaddafi. But what a lot of people don't know and understand is that the way this man came to power was through a bloodless coup. He didn't kill anybody to take the presidency in his country. Now, what he did, it really pisses the West off. It makes sense to me, right? The British was in there colonizing the place, pimping oil, and not giving anything back to the country. First thing he did when he got in power was to keep the British out and nationalize the oil revenues so that there'd be no poverty in this country. When a baby is born, under his administration, when a baby was born in Libya, monies from the oil revenues would be deposited in that baby's bank account for their future. So there was no poverty in Libya under Muammar Gaddafi. When they were accusing him of developing nuclear weapons, he was building the biggest irrigation project in the history of man and turned the Sahara Desert into fertile farmland so that his people could be self-sufficient, eating organically grown food and not having to rely on Monsanto to send them genetically modified poison food. And so this, you wouldn't get information from the Western press. So they had a problem with a country being self-sufficient because they want all countries to be interdependent and to take the mark of the beast and not to be able to buy, sell, or trade unless they take the mark of the beast. Now, the mark of the beast is not some 666 stamp on your forehead or on your wrist. The mark of the beast on your forehead is that you take on the thoughts of the beast, and the mark on your wrist is that you do his deeds. So anybody who is not embedded with America and with the NATO alliance, or the G7 or G10, whatever they are now, then they're going to shut you down and not allow you to function.
Takwa, I wish I could let you proceed, but we are coming to the top of the hour, and I appreciate you and everything that you say. We are right at the 7 o'clock hour. So Jeff, I want to say thank you to you for coming in. Can we have you more often? I'm sorry you had to wake up at 4:30.
No, it's okay. My pleasure. Yeah, I can come back. Yeah, let's work it out.
All right.
There's going to be, maybe I'll come back in a few months, and we'll talk about more election stuff. We got into a lot of issues here. It's funny. You don't get to get into a lot of issues when I go on TV. It's all about the news. You don't have to get to cover it that deep. But no,
Can we have you back in May? Can you come back in May?
In May? Maybe.
We can make it work, Jeff. We can make it work.
All right, let's make it work.
Well, I definitely love and appreciate you. Please tell people how they can find you, social media, email, phone number.
I'm on Twitter at Jeff Simone MA, JeffSemonMA. But you know what? Tayla and I just tag Tayla and look for her on Twitter, and then you can find me.
And as far as the young Republicans are concerned, if there are some parents that are interested in having their children enroll or be involved, how can they be involved in?
Well, young Republicans, if you are over 18, there's like teenage Republicans, there's college Republicans, and there's young Republicans. If you're 18 to 40, and I'm almost at 40, so I'm about to be out of the organization. Yeah, check us out, massyrs.org. But you got to be a registered Republican. You got to join the team.
I don't know about that one.
Well, that's the rules. Young Democrat, you can't be an independent or a Democrat. You got to be Republican. And the Democrats have the same rules. It's not.
They do, because I'm registered independent. They were like, "Oh, Taylor, you can't join us.
You got to join the club.
You got to be a Democrat.
You got to pick a side."
No, never. I pick the side of everybody. I'm a love being. And again, shout out to our sponsors, Coleman G. Howard. I want to give a shout out to you, Care Bear Love. Read the shirts, love the shirts, and everything that you wear, everything that you eat, it's all ingested. You are ingesting. I don't care if it says FUBU or Polo. Whatever you put on your body is a representation of who you are, what you wear. Shows people. Listen. Start wearing things that represent who you are. Stop wearing names just because it's a name. Start wearing brands that represent you, represent how you feel, represent who you love. And today, little black girl's dream too. I want to give a shout out to Faith's Natural. Today's product is her curl moisturizer, her silky curls. If that's something you're interested in, please. I know people are like, not my curls. But it's all natural, homemade, made in her home. Product is absolutely amazing. And my number one flagship product of hers is the rose-infused oil. It smells like heaven. I absolutely love it for your hair, skin, nails. You can use it everywhere. I'm going to go ahead and send Jeff with a bottle of oil.
I barely have any hair left. What are you doing to me?
You know what? I'm so glad you said that. She has hair restoration products as well, so to help your hair grow.
Oh, then she's gonna be a billionaire. Are you kidding me?
She is, and I speak that into her life when two or more agree. Faith, I love you. Faith Naturals, Coleman G. Howard, Wake Up with Taylor Andre, Jeff Simone, Big City 101.3 FM. I love you. I appreciate you, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.
That's right, baby. You know what it is? It's DJ Sus One, the feature presentation. Listen, make sure you wake up with.
Thank you. Good stuff.
It's awesome stuff, Ed. We went
It
over.
always seems like it goes by so quick.
It does, and we don't even get to talk about everything that we want to talk
jump
about.
from topic to topic.
We
Like
had
the callers will be like, you go here, you go there, you go there. It's fun though. I like it.
we had callers that we couldn't even take. We had about 7 callers
Oh, really?
that we missed. Yeah, we had 7 callers that we
Wow.
missed, and
Is that good or bad?
that is bad because
I
everybody's
mean, is that
opinion-
like a lot of callers?
No, the ones that we missed, and then there were people that hung up as well. So
Right.
people that couldn't wait on hold or didn't want to wait on hold. So I do appreciate those that do have the patience, and the way that we jump from topic to topic, we do lose them. They're like, oh, they don't want to. I'm not going
Right.
to talk about that anymore.
Right.
They're not even talking about that. So this is for the Periscope. You want to say bye, and for the YouTube. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to say.
I'm looking at this.
You can look at both.
Oh, thank you, Tayla, for having me. Thanks, Big City FM 101.3. Tune in. What, 5 to 7?
5 to 7.
5 to 7, Monday through Friday.
You know what I would like for you to say? Hold on. I love you guys. Appreciate you. Hope you guys have an amazing day.
Okay.
What I would love is you said something earlier that I wanted you to repeat so bad so I could have it for myself. I'm lying. I wanted to post it on Twitter. I wanted you one more time as a Republican to remind people why the fuck Sonia Chang Diaz is out here acting a damn ass.
That's you can't do it. Time out.
Pause.
You can't. I mean, that's like I would say I'll tell them to do the research on the bill because like that's like a whole like you gotta give me like 5 minutes and the whole at least that's like a major discussion.
She pissed me all the way. I don't think you understand. She had not just myself. She had parents. She had charter, district, public. She had the gamut. She had everything that she needed at her table. She said, I will sit down with you from now until 5 p.m. What time we leave here? 4 p.m., 5 p.m.? I will sit here with you to understand what the parents want.
She got, all right, here's the thing. I can't hold her fully responsible because there was another senator who added an amendment, which, like, I think that was like the 0.5% a year, like, really cut it down at the very last minute. They snuck it in, politicians. I think that's how it happened. I think she wanted something better than what it is now. I don't know how much better. But the thing is, you can't look. The unions are trying to just protect themselves, protect their wallets. Really, this isn't even about the teachers. It's about the teachers' unions, and you'll hear that. You do the research on this. You'll hear that going back past 5-10 years. It's about the teachers' unions, not the teachers. I think some other senator added an amendment that made it even worse than whatever it was before that. But still, she's been going around acting like this is the greatest thing ever. And it's not. It's not a good thing.
It's not a win-win.
No. If you look, if whatever city or town or neighborhood wants more charter schools, they should be allowed to have more charter schools. Period. And you won't get a disagreement from Charlie Baker. You won't get a disagreement from the Republicans in the legislature.
So I this
is the Democrats'
concerns with Charlie's plan as well, because Charlie's plan wants 12 schools a year. Like he wants to lift the cap, so it's
12 to something. Like it depends, but at least 12. But they can be targeted. Do you know what I mean? Like they can be focused. First of all, like. Schools are real expensive. I mean, you got to, either build one or convert a space over to a school. So it takes a lot of planning, and you can't just say, I want 100 the first 3 years or something, just, or even the first year. It's pretty tough to do. But what you can do, if you have a dozen schools and you put like 3-4 in Boston, and leave 6, 7, 8 for the rest of the state or something like that, and that's for 1 year. That's pretty good. Like, and then there'll be another one the next year or something like that. I mean, that's actually a fair amount to control it and raise or eliminate the cap. Look, is this a perfect situation? No. I mean, if this wouldn't even be a situation if the public schools were better.
I don't know if you check my Twitter. That's my first.
It wouldn't be. This wouldn't be a conversation. Like charter schools wouldn't be. The reason why charter schools exist is there's a demand for it.
Failed to do what they've been promising.
There's a demand for it. Look, but what bothers me the most is Sonia Chang Diaz has been going around all over the place saying that this is a fantastic bill. And it's not a fantastic bill, and actually it's not going to get passed. It's not even going to leave the Senate because. Well, actually, left the Senate, got passed. It's going to go down to the House, and they're going to change it up a bunch. And Baker will probably get more of what he wants, and it'll probably be in a better form. So, in a few weeks, pay attention. Read up on this because it'll change. It won't be as bad as the Senate version, but I don't know how good it'll be. I don't think anybody knows that yet. So, But no, it's look. This is why, everybody's like Republican, Democrat, but I'm like, we stand for different things. Like this is what I mean by less government. You know what I mean? Small or limited government. Like parents now don't have a choice in their kids' education because of these rules. I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't. And anyway.
Well, we agree there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's one of those things. I mean, look, when you want to get into foreign policy, I mean, there's disagreements within the Republican Party all over the place. I mean, you've got Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and John Kasich, all that's the president's job is foreign policy. Actually, I mean, that's like a real serious thing. You got Hillary Clinton, who wanted to take out Gaddafi, and they took him out. They wanted to do their own thing, and then you have Bernie Sanders, who thinks
peace, love, and happiness. Smoke a blunt.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You'll need a blunt if he gets elected, because you want to talk about more government? He's like, government is supreme. Don't be fooled, Tayla. He free this, free that, free college, free healthcare, free that. Okay, it's gonna get all this free stuff's gonna get real expensive real soon. You watch.
You want to know the first thing I learned in political science when I went to school was there's no such thing as a free lunch.
There is no
That was
such
the
thing.
first thing they taught us.
Just think about it. I mean, how old are you?
33.
33. Okay. What do you think happens if you go to college or school for free? You leave, you get a job, and you pay taxes that then fund the college before. There's no free. But now, but if you never went to college, and you're a carpenter or an iron worker or you own a restaurant or a chef, and you didn't want to go to college, guess what? Too bad. You're going to pay for everybody else's college.
Well, don't we do that with schools now? Like
a lot of it, but a lot. Well, nothing. Maybe on a small level. State taxes, somewhat, because a lot of state taxes go to like UMass and stuff like that. But on the whole, no. If you go to college, you take out loans or you pay for it yourself.
$46,000 debt.
Well, I'm about to say, I paid mine off a few years ago.
Lord have
but that's what I'm
mercy.
saying. Like you pay for your college yourself because you're getting the college education. You can talk about how expensive that is, but it's your education. For better, for worse, you pay for it. I pay for it. We pay for our own education in college. But Bernie Sanders is saying, no, somebody else is going to pay for it. It's not something. The millionaires, they're not paying for it. We're all going to pay for it. And he's going to say that it's free. Well, to the guy who graduates from high school, or the girl who graduates from high school and just goes out and starts working, doing whatever, making a hair product, who never went to college, they're going to pay for the other kid's college education because the taxes. That's how it'll work. It's not that complex, but he doesn't get into that in his speeches. He just wants to go like this: their fault, their fault, their fault. It's appealing, but
who are
he's
you guys
wrong.
voting for? Who do you guys have? Who do any of us have as an option?
I'm a never Trump guy. Here's the thing: you're going to hear I don't think Trump's going to get the nomination because it's going to come down to a convention. He didn't get like a majority of votes throughout this whole process from state to state. Nobody's got a majority, 50% plus one. That means something. It means the most amount of people wanted to vote for him. So he got something like 35 to 40%. It's a lot, but it's not.
50.
Yeah, it means more people didn't want him than do want him. Same thing for Ted Cruz. So now this is why we have a convention. Democrats have it too. This whole superdelegate thing, that's a whole we don't have that. That's the ace in the hole for Hillary Clinton. But we have our convention and we'll work it out. We'll figure out who's I'm guessing it'll be Ted Cruz because he's got a really good operation of figuring out who's going to go there. And if that's the case, you're going to hear a lot of bad things about him from the Democrats. And I'd come back on and say, okay, let's really talk about what we're talking about. Like they'll say Ted Cruz is an extremist on abortion. Okay, well, what's extreme? I mean, this is the thing. He has his opinions on it. He errs on the side of life and the child, and Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, abortions up until the very last minute. It's just like that's
40 weeks.
That's some like really extreme stuff. So you'll hear that. You'll hear, he's bad for liberals, but he'd return government back to being more of a local thing, which is the way it should be. Like you should have like Tito Jackson on. You probably have, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like that's where your government really out. City of Boston, state rep. Where's Sonia Chang Diaz in the?
She's been on.
Yeah.
She's been on.
Just that.
We have
time?
a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I love her, and then I can't stand her. Like when she does things that don't make sense for her constituents.
This is one of them. The charter schools thing this is a big thing, and until Democrats are brave enough to say, you know what, teachers unions we can't support you really that much anymore. Like
we have to support the kids. Somebody has to stand up for the kids.
Yeah. Parents don't care parents care about how their kids are getting educated, not if whether the teachers are members of a union or not. They just want their kids to get a good education. Anyway, all right.
Thank you for your time.
Hey,
I'll walk you out.
Yeah, thank you. I always have fun coming here.
I'm glad you enjoyed coming, even though we have people that want to attack you.
Oh, it's fun.
apologies. My apologies. I just left y'all. I shouldn't have left you without at least something to listen to. Shoot. Do we still have any? Is anybody still paying attention? Where you at? Where you at? We got some people listening. So I apologize. I took so long. Shout out to Jeff. Thank you so much for him coming in 4:30 in the morning. I think he woke up earlier than a lot of our listeners, but I love you guys. I appreciate you. If you miss any of today's conversation, it's on Mixcloud. We're almost at 400. We're almost at 400. So excited. Mwah.